This race, which is typically 6 kilometres, is down to 5 kilometres. I think Niels Laros, lest we forget, a 1:44 800 metre man, a 3:31 1500 metre man, and a 3:48 miler will be very happy with that he doesn't have to run the extra kilometre, because no one in here, no one can touch him for speed if he's anywhere close in the last kilometre. And they're about to run into a huge cloud of orange. The Dutch always show up, and Niels Laros on that far side. I hope must not be too comfortable to breathe in after 100 metres, but thankfully it's in the first lap and not in the last lap. But the Dutch always show their colour, always show their passion, and they might have a gold medal to celebrate here. It looks like Axel, Vang, Christensen, the champion 2 years ago. No athlete has ever regained this title, having won it, been defeated, and then come back to win it again. That's what Axel Vang Christensen is trying to do. In Dublin 2 years ago, he went right from the gun, put everyone to the sword, and no one could live with it. And he's trying to do the same here, Tim.
He is indeed. Yes, they get underway. Just in case you're wondering about whether or not these youngsters make it through to senior level, Jakob Ingebrigtsen, his first international gold was winning this race back in 2016. He also won it the next 3 years. He won 4 European junior titles, can you believe? Mo Farah won this title in 2001, and then the senior title in 2006. Crippa of Italy won this title in 2014 and 2015, and of course he took European Championship gold at 10,000 metres last summer, the summer before last in Munich. So the winner of this race has every chance of becoming a massive international name at senior level as well. But the early pace pretty quick, as in the women's under-20 race, Carl, and at the moment Laros just easing up into, what, 6th place?
Yeah, I think it's good advice at the European cross-country, especially at under-20 level, not to go too crazy in that first 800 metres, because the pace does tend to be crazy. If you're in that top 20, top 25, and you're looking at a top 5 medal contender perhaps, there's plenty time over the first kilometre or two to get yourself in position.
Do you think 5,000 metres for junior men, under 20 men, is a little bit on the low side for a distance? I do. I'm astonished it's as short as 5k.
I think so. I think I would prefer to see it longer, but I suppose when the women were used to running 4k and they were equalising the distances, I can understand why they brought the men down to meet them in the middle. But I would I suppose hope that in the years ahead perhaps both genders will run 6 kilometres. I think it'd only be fair. You also at NCAA level have that big distance discrepancy with the women running 6k, the men running 10. No reason at all two genders can't run the same distance, and that's what we're seeing for the first time ever here at the European cross country.
There's some big egos, some confident young men out there racing this one out. It's going to be a real punch-up at the front. Christensen looking strong and confident. Laros yesterday at the press conference. I thought, you and I were both there, Carl. I was surprised at how he just oozed confidence. You don't want to say arrogance, but there was a real firmness to his answers, short and sharp answers, and there was a little bit of the Jakob Ingebrigtsen about his attitude at the press conference.
Yeah, when you run like he does in your teens, the comparisons with Jakob Ingebrigtsen are absolutely unavoidable. But when you speak to Laros, I've interviewed him a couple of times, there's no denying that he has that similar confidence. You know, I talked to him earlier this summer about stepping up and racing the seniors at the World Championships, and he said just in terms of being out there on the circuit, he said in the beginning, running against these senior guys, it was like, I'll never beat them. But now it's like, I'm in the same level, let's kick their ass. And he was talking about Jakob Ingebrigtsen, who he inevitably got asked about at the press conference, and said, I'm getting closer to him, I'm going to try to beat him soon.
So in the team race, France leading, Great Britain up there, Italy, Hungary, Germany, Belgium in the top 10. Great support, of course, for the Belgian athletes. But Christensen at the moment calling the tune, and Griggs, it's Murphy rather up there. Griggs as well is up there in this group of what, about 7 who've just eased away. I think there's 8 in fact. A couple of British vests there as well.
Yeah, that's Niall Murphy. He came through to win the Irish under-20 title after Nick Griggs there to his left, out of left ear shot. He got stuck in the mud and collapsed with about 400 or 500 metres to run while in firm command at the Irish Championships, but that was pretty much literally running through a swamp. But Axel Vang Christensen, he was another athlete, very special, very rare talent. It's great to see him leading this field, and look at this, he is opening a gap. He has got about 8-10 metres, and Niels Laros senses the danger. There's certain athletes who might be willing to let go, let them have that little lead. Axel Vang Christensen, Niels Laros will know all about what he did in Dublin 2 years ago. He will not want to let this gap open, and Christensen rightly, if you're going to beat Laros, you're going to have to beat him in the first 4 kilometres, because his finishing speed is wicked.
Henry Dover, the winner of the UK trials, is up there as well, 2.77 on his back. Sam Mills, 4th last year in this race, only 4th in the trials a couple of weeks ago in Liverpool, but he's there too in that leading 8 or 9 names. But you're right, Christensen really pouring it on here, 4.55 for that first lap of 1,510 metres.
Yeah, Christensen, he was ill last year, missed last year's championship. He had Achilles surgery earlier on this year. He was for a while at the University of Birmingham, but he's now based back in Denmark. Won the Spanish road title back in 2021 at the age of just 16 over 10 kilometres. His role model, no surprise, Jakob Ingebrigtsen. And really, Christensen, you know, speaking to him about his training, he really does train unlike any other teenage athlete I've heard of. At the age of 14, he was running 120 kilometres per week. At the age of 15, he was hitting 150, 160, at one point even 180 kilometres a week in his mid-teens. Not advisable. Do not try this at home, athletes, if you're out there. But he said initially in his early teens he was running with higher intensity and lower volume and breaking down with injuries, and then they stumbled upon a recipe that lower intensity and higher volume worked for him. He's obviously had his injury problems since, but it's great to see him back flying high again.
You know what, Christensen's doing exactly the same as Fitzgerald here, isn't he? A few minutes into the race, 6 minutes on the clock, a lap and a half gone. That was the lap and a half marker we saw, by the way, that was about 4.55. Christensen is just forcing everybody to run flat out. There's no chance for people to feel comfortable and get into this and get into a rhythm, because he is dictating what's going on. Laros has just closed up on him there. That's interesting. Laros, as you said quite rightly, Cal, has recognised the danger and has closed up on the Dane.
Yeah, certainly. Laros is just so talented on the track. He did say yesterday at the press conference he likes cross-country. He's been doing it since he was a kid, you know, 9, 10 years old. He enjoys it, but obviously he is a high performer on the track. And I know a lot of those track athletes who hate cross-country used to say the phrase, you don't drive a Ferrari in a mucky field. Well, Niels Laros right now is the Ferrari, and he is running around this mucky field. And what are we, 2 and a bit kilometres into this race? He has got to the front, and everyone will be wary and knowing at this point on this penultimate long lap, 1,500 metres, that if they're going to hurt Niels Laros, they're going to have to do it soon.
Interesting to see Griggs up there and Mills having a good run as well. The best of the Brits at them. Oh, and there's a fall. It's the first one we've seen in quite sort of spectacular style. Skourgos of Greece goes down. I'm not sure they're used to this sort of mud too often down in Greece, where the climate is quite glorious through September, October and November. But anyway, up at the front end, these three just beginning to get away, and it's Mills, I think, for Great Britain in 4th, who's just beginning to get isolated, and that makes it very tough indeed. If he can't go with this trio, he's got to dig deep here. Yeah, and this is Ireland leading the team standings. We expected this to be Ireland's strongest team, possibly individual and team medal chances here, and they are living up to that as they come up towards 1,500 metres, 2k to go or so. Niall Murphy is coming through there up to 5th place for them, and in their third scorer at the moment is Shane Brosnan back in 13th, the Irish flying high. And I'm sure someone will be relaying that to Nick Griggs out on the course. As much as he wants an individual medal, perhaps try and upgrade from that silver of last year, he will know that the Irish team are in contention for gold as well. Every place counts going back to field. Nick Griggs, the Irish under-20s 2 years ago in Dublin were favoured. They were up there. They were leading in gold medal position for a lot of the race. Nick underperformed slightly that day, and he blamed himself. He said he carried the hurt of that day for a long time. They won silver behind Britain, lost by just 1 point. Nick Griggs will be keen to lead his country to gold. Well, almost 9 minutes on the clock. They're past halfway. And Laros there, his presence as a 3:31 1,500 metre runner creates real jeopardy, doesn't it? It's wonderful, because Christensen will know full well, Carl, that he's got to shake off the Dutchman before he gets into the last 300 or 400 metres. There's no way he'll be able to live with Laros unless he takes the sting out of the Dutchman and has a few metres coming into the final section of that last lap. And this is why Christensen in the red there for Denmark has got to keep pushing. Griggs just tucked in behind him, looking a bit more comfortable now than he was a few minutes ago.
Certainly, and Christensen, as we see there around that turn, just puts in a little surge. It's a good place to try and catch athletes out, put them to the sword. If you just accelerate into those tight turns and just out of them, you can create a little 6-7 metre gap. That's exactly what Christensen has done. But we see Laros looks to have him tagged. He has him marked. And I think Nick Griggs sensibly is tracking Laros as the race favourite. you would have to say if we get inside the final 400 metres, no doubting that Laros will be the favourite. And after that, you'd probably say Nick Griggs might have the better finishing kick over Christensen. And that's the reason now, with probably about 1,800 metres or so to go, that Christensen is trying to put these two men behind him to the sword. He's a fantastic steeplechaser. 8:29 for the 2,000 metre steeplechase, 7:59 for 3,000 metres. But the two men behind him are much, much quicker over 1,500 and 3,000 metres than Christensen. If he's going to drop either of these two, it has to happen now.
Don't you think we're at a critical stage of the race, this third quarter, Carl, where Christensen has got to turn the screw. He's got to start asking questions of Laros, who's cruising along, looking comfortable. Mills there in fourth place for Britain, isolated, working really hard, just can hope and pray that one of the three in front of him might falter. But this is where Christensen has got to keep digging deep and stretch Laros, really ask questions of that orange vest for the Dutchman. And Griggs, well, who knows, because he's just tucked in there at the moment. They don't really get a chance to see him and see how he's looking.
Yeah, Griggs has played a patient game. There is a bit of grimace on his face. There's a little more rocking and rolling than perhaps when he's comfortable, but it's no surprise all these men are hurting now. But it's, what, 1,500 metres, about 4 minutes, a little over 4 minutes more of hurting. Live the rest of your life as a European medalist. All of these men, of course, are already European under-20 medalists, some of them many times. Niels Laros has 2 European under-18 titles, 2 European under-20 titles. He is destined for huge things at senior level, but now it's about winning a title he does not have. This is his first time at the European cross-country championships. There was question marks in this mud. Would he handle the conditions? And he absolutely is handling them perfectly right now, and he looks poised to strike, and just a little bit of a gap opening there to Nick Griggs. He has to dig in. He looks to be well out in front. He's got about 50-60 metres over Mills of Britain in that for that third place position. So Nick Griggs, can he upgrade from third though? Laros looks poised to strike.
Yeah, Mills has got about 10 or 11 seconds between himself and Griggs there in the green of Ireland, so we may be looking at the 3 medalists here. It'll be very tough to close up now on the last 1,500 metre lap. Christensen still looks very smooth indeed, doesn't he? Untroubled. Laros likewise not giving anything away. Look at the mud that Griggs is covered in because he's in the wake of those two. He's getting all the spray. That is the cross-country look from Griggs of Ireland in third place. He's trying desperately to hang on to these two, and at the same time, I guess, Carl, increase that gap back to Mills to ensure he gets a medal.
Absolutely. The Irish in silver medal position behind the Brits at the moment. Sam Mills, Henry Dover's back in 8th, and then there's Rowan Neal Ingram back in 10th. The Brits again 3 in the top 10. You're not beating that if you're one of the rival nations. They're 2 points ahead of Ireland at the moment. And it's down to 2 up front, unless Nick Griggs can produce a miraculous comeback. And now we see Laros for the first time really start to test Axel Vang Christensen. He has the speed, he has the gears. Careful around this corner, it can get a little tricky. We see Christensen maybe just stealing the meter there. Laros just playing it a little safer, but they're going to turn out of this little short loop, this 300 metre or so loop, back onto the main perimeter lap.
That was really interesting. Laros used an area of better surface to accelerate and snatch a couple of metres on Christensen into the muddy sections. I suspect the Dane will do better, but Laros absolutely maximising the opportunity to get away and push hard on this surface.
Look at that, it's like the Tour de France there as the course narrows. They run through deep crowds to either side, and the neighbouring country, Netherlands, are out in force here to cheer this star. I dare say he might not just be a star of Dutch athletics, but perhaps of Dutch sport. He could become a household name in the years ahead. It's a curse of the sport that so often we overhype young athletes, but when it comes to what Niels Laros is doing at his age, it really is not hyperbole, because he is a very, very special talent. And it will be no surprise, here he is at his first European cross-country championships, to see him back here next year. He is still underage, by the way, next year if he wants to come back. And he may just have an Olympic medal around his neck, because he was right there fighting for one at the World Championships this year.
Well, I asked him at the press conference yesterday, if he feels that there's a bit of a hole in his CV because he's not strong at 5,000 metres when Ingebrigtsen was, and he said, no, I'm a unique athlete. But he answered some questions here, you know, Carl. This is really strong running. This suggests he has got the strength to go much quicker than his personal best of 13:23 at 5,000, because this is a dominant performance. He hasn't left it to the last 300 or 400. He's gone early.
Absolutely. And talking about the high mileage, high volume of Axel Vang Christensen, Niels Laros is not of that. I was asking him yesterday about his training. It's always a bit of a question you ask these young prodigies, just how hard they're training. Asking him about what sort of volume he's doing. He wasn't keen to answer, but I said, would it be 100 kilometres a week? And he said, barely. So there's lots of room for improvement in the training load that Niels Laros is under at the moment, being steered so wisely by the brilliant Thomas Lewandowski of Poland. He's doing great work there. The Netherlands is the Dutch endurance coach. Christensen is trying his best to close in, and you can see Laros is certainly hurting. Nick Griggs looks to have a lock on the bronze medal at the moment, possibly leading Ireland to silver. If some of their athletes come through, they might just challenge for gold. Jonas Stafford is up to 12th, Niall Murphy in 7th. But now Niels Laros is on the final run to the finish. Only a couple hundred metres to run from here. It's downhill, as you can see there. He is using the best ground. He is taking that wider line to make sure all that caliber, all that power, all that speed can be put into the surface and returned. He checks behind him. Christensen is raising a kick. He is rising to the challenge here, but I don't think he's going to be able to outkick this man. There are not many athletes. Or can he? He is drawing up towards Niels Laros. Does Laros have another gear? He's going to need it. Axel Vang Christensen, this will be an amazing upset. And Axel Vang Christensen has turned over the favourite. The Great Dane regains the title in Brussels.
Wow. There is no other word for it. Talk about mind over matter. That was fantastic. Griggs comes home for a brilliant bronze for Ireland, and Ireland doing well in the team race, by the way. We'll update you on that as quickly as we can. But that is one of the most spectacular cross-country finishes I've seen in many a year. Unbelievable.
Incredible stuff. No man has ever won this title and then conceded it and then regained it. Axel Vang Christensen is the first ever to do that in the 29 years of this championship, and he has outkicked the man who we said for about 5.5 kilometres that race, or 4.5 kilometres that race, that he couldn't probably outkick a 1:44 800 metre man. But again, cross country is a test of strength far more than speed, and on this day Axel Vang Christensen was the strongest of all.
Well, Mills in 5th place, Ottfalk of Sweden, a brilliant 4th. He came through really well in the second half. Ireland taking the team race, and that's official. 22 points to Great Britain. Sit down, Carl. Control yourself. 24 points for Great Britain. Spain, 44, back in 3rd place with France just missing out. But what a result for the Irish. Are you a little bit excited? You're looking very calm.
No bias in the commentary booth, Tim, as you well know. You'd never be cheering for the Brits now, but brilliant stuff. It was Niall Murphy in 9th and Jonas Stafford in 10th. First and second at the Irish Championships. They photo finished there pretty much, and 1 second between them here. They have got up for Ireland. And team gold, and Nick Griggs, it may be an individual bronze, 1 step down, but he will be so proud that he has led Ireland to team gold. He carried a lot of hurt, as we see. Speak of hurt, this is what happens when you put a 1:44 800 metre man in a 5k race on the mud with an athlete like Axel Vang Christensen. He has run himself literally into the ground.
But that's great. That's a growing process for Laros, you know. That'll bring him on. I mean, that's just psychologically as well as physically. That is a massive step forward for him, I think, having to really battle over 5,000 of muddy cross-country like that. Character-building stuff, but I suspect he'll be a better 1,500 metre runner next summer for that.
Yeah, you see it there, the replay. Laros saw him coming. That's not going to be an excuse. I think the legs were just gone and they'd been sapped. And this is like we talked about, that first 2 to 3 kilometres by Axel Vang Christensen. That's where they finally came off. I'm sure Axel Vang Christensen, as he was running into that last 800 metres, would have thought, I'm not going to outkick this man, probably. But the damage he did early, he had put the sludge in Niels Laros's legs, and that's where it paid off.
He still had to generate that speed at the finish, though. But you get that momentum, don't you? About 100 metres out. There was no way he was not going to get past Laros in that last 75, 50, 25. And Laros knew it, I think. He just couldn't generate any further momentum. And actually seeing Laros prostrate like that on the ground, it just shows how much he put into it. 101% from Laros, but he ends up with a silver. And he'll be disappointed. He'll be disappointed. He shouldn't be, because he's given everything.
Absolutely. He ran a brilliant race. I'm sure he'll be thinking right now, with the benefit of hindsight, if I just waited, if I just sat on Christensen to the last 200, I could have outkicked him. But hindsight is always 20/20, as they say, and you see how much time Nick Griggs, despite finishing third, spent looking at the backsides of Niels Laros and Axel Vang Christensen, giving the mud spattered all over his face. He's got an individual medal, and crucially, cross-country is a team sport. He's led his nation to gold, the last race of Nick Griggs' under-20 career, and indeed Axel Vang Christensen. Niels Laros, though, will be able to come back next year for the under-20 category.
Superb running.